I'm glad Michael brought up the issue of whether a Christian can attain wealth or be rich or not. I'm going to address this from two perspectives, theological and the sociological, starting with the sociological. I think to sit up there to say that Christians should not attain wealth or become rich or what have you is spoken from a place of privilege. For the past, I don't know, maybe year or so, I've been really focused on studies that relate to black people and their condition in America and abroad. And no one here is ignorant of the fact that we live in a white supremacist system that does not just encompass the United States but also the world. And one of the key things is that this system keeps black people in a state of lacking any type of economic infrastructure. This system privileges whites, if not monetarily, and other means, and their allies. Many refer to Dr. King, the late Dr. Martin Luther King, in his so-called I Have a Dream speech. But many do not refer to the speeches and the things Dr. King said later. He too recognized that the problem was economics, not social integration. Many great black minds have recognized this as well. The late great Marcus Mosiah Garvey, contrary to what people think, he was a Christian. And he recognized that economics was a key issue. It's easy to sit up and say, oh, don't pursue wealth and what have you, when you live in a system that pretty much gives your group, your racial group, all the advantages. Now, more could be said on this, but I'm going to go to the theological because I don't want this to go too long. From a theological perspective, I do not see the scriptures speaking against attaining wealth. I see the scriptures speaking against prioritizing wealth over God. That's what I see. It says it's the love of these things that's injurious, not simply having them or attaining them. Let's take things and look at it from an Anabaptist perspective. Robert Friedman, in his book, An Anabaptist Theology, he refers to the area in the Gospels where the rich young ruler came before Christ. And many of you are familiar with the story, and how the story played out was that Jesus asked the individual to follow him, but he had to give up his riches. The individual eventually denied giving up his riches and walked away. Well, Robert Friedman, in that work that I mentioned, he argues that from a Hutterite perspective, we're talking about the Anabaptist group, the Hutterites, that the whole issue was there was obedience. Not that the guy was rich or had money. Wealth had nothing to do with it. It's what he give up that wealth to follow the Messiah, where he followed the Lord Jesus. That's what the issue was about. And so that's the perspective I take. And I think that many really need to think about this issue, especially when they're speaking to marginalized groups, that because of their lack of wealth or lack of money, they don't have choices that many of you may have.